according to the United States Navigational Guide, the United States Navigational Guide, in other words, a guide that navigators learn how not to go astray when they travel in the earth. There are 51 navigational stars used to guide people in the night. And I will tell you, and this is a true story, I was on a British Airways flight to England from San Francisco, and they have a little box that shows you where the plane is at any given time. Now, I know that the Great Circle route out of San Francisco were 18 degrees to the northeast. And the planes travel by the Great Circle route. Well, I noticed that we were just slightly over Denver, Colorado, and we should have been in Canada. So I called the stewardess, and I said, I think we're off course. She said, what? She got really scared. And I said, we should be somewhere over Canada, and we're not. We're over. She ran to the phone and called the captain. Maybe it was hijacked or something. So then she came back to me a few minutes later and said, it's all right, it's all right. He explained it to me. And then she left. About 5 minutes later, she came up to me and she said, the captain wants to see you in the cockpit. So I walked up, went through the first class, opened the door, came in. There were two seated, the captain and the co-pilot. And there was a big chair right in the middle. And he said, have a seat. So I'm on a 747, sitting in this chair with the captain and the co-pilot coming from economy class, which is very cramped, and having a better than a first class seat. So I didn't ask for tea or anything. I wasn't going to push it. So he said to me, are you a pilot? And I said, I'm not a pilot. And he said, how did you know we were off course? And I said, because I know the Great Circle route, and I've read a little bit about navigation, and I knew that we were off course. We should have been 18 degrees. We were about 65 or 70. He said, you're right. And I'll tell you a little secret. In the wintertime, we don't fly the Great Circle to England. We fly a loxodromic route. And he said, even though it's a longer distance, we get there faster and save fuel because we go into a jet stream. And I thought of the Prophet's dua, وَطْوِ عَنَّا بُعْدَهُ, and lessen the distance of this journey for us. And I realized it wasn't majaz, it was haqiqi, that Allah can actually take a direction and make it less than another direction because you go into a jet stream. So then we began to talk, and he started pulling out all the maps and showing me how they did it and everything. And I was having a wonderful lesson in geography and navigation. And then I said to him, can I ask you something? What do you guys do if all the machines go down and you don't have any navigational tools? At that point, he did a wonderful thing, and I thank Allah for this blessing. He turned off all the lights in the cockpit. And suddenly, the glory of the heavens manifests right before our eyes. And he said, we always have the stars. That's what he said to me. We always have the stars. And he said, and most importantly, we always have the North Star, Al-Qutb, and the southern Qutb, Suhail, which is called Canopus, which many people don't know. But Ibn Abbas told us that the Kaaba is aligned to Canopus. The Kaaba is aligned to Canopus. The Kaaba is astronomically aligned to the winter and the sun, the summer, moon rise and moon set. And it's aligned to Canopus. Now, one of the extraordinary things about Canopus is Canopus, which is called Suhail in the Arabic language, is what NASA uses to guide their space satellites. It is the star used by NASA. And this is the point of all of this. 51 navigational stars in their book. Out of those 51, 43 still have their Arabic names in their textbooks. 43 are still called by their Arabic names because it is the Arab and the Muslims and the Persians who spent their nights looking at those glorious stars and writing their names down. And they came to the Europeans through Latin, and out of a respect for the Muslim scholarship, they didn't change their names. They didn't Latinize them. Just like Muslims now, in awe of the West, they get a new Western machine and they don't say hatif, they say telephone. Why do they say telephone? They have a perfectly good word in Arabic for telephone, hatif. In fact, Omar had a divine cell phone. Omar was in Medina. He didn't need AT&T. He said, Ya Sariyat al-Jabal. Sariya, look to the mountain. And his commander, he didn't need to dial anything, 911 or any. He just said, Ya Sariyat al-Jabal. The people in the masjid said, Omar's gone crazy. Until they came back from Persia and said that they heard Omar's voice over 1,000 miles away. That was divine satellite, because they have GPS, which is the global positioning system. We have GPS, God's positioning system. You see, really, we have a different understanding. In fact, the cell phone is not a sign that we have progressed, it's a sign we've regressed. Because the ancients didn't need telephones. They could send khawatir, and people would wake up. I just want to name a few of these. Al-Shanar, they call it Al-Shanar, Akhir al-Nahar. Al-Akrab, Al-Aqrab, Adara, Al-Adara, Al-Dabiran, Al-Dabaran, Al-Youth, Al-Yath, Al-Ka'id, Al-Qa'id, Al-Nilam, Al-Nidam, Al-Fard, Al-Fakka, Al-Farats, Al-Faras, Al-Tayr, Al-Tayr. Bait al-Juice. When I first saw that, I said, Bait al-Juice, what's that mean? Ibt al-Jawza. Denab, Denab, Denabola, Denab al-Asad, Difda, Dufda, Al-Nat, Al-Nat, Al-Tanin, Al-Tanin, Fam al-Hot. I thought this a German name this. I looked up, it said Fam al-Hot. It sounded German to me. Excuse me, Dr. Omar. It sounded German to me, and then I looked it up in the dictionary. It was Fam al-Hut, the mouth of Pisces. This is what, and there are 43 of them. This is what they call them to this day. Do you think this is a coincidence? That the stars have names that the Muslims gave them? The heavens belong to the Muslims. The heavens belong to the Muslims. And I want to tell you something that I realized recently. If you want to know who's ruling the world, look who is most advanced in astronomy, because that is a clear indication of the rulers of the world. And you can see it with the Babylonians, with the Indians, with the Chinese, with the Greeks, with the Muslims, with the Europeans, and now with the Americans. Don't think that the billions of dollars they're spending in NASA, with the billions of dollars they're spending on Hubble telescopes, like Pharaoh, like the Pharaoh who wanted to see up in the heavens to see where this God was. What do you think they're looking for when they look up into the heavens? They're looking for material proof of what they fear. That this universe has a beginning, that it had a beginner, that it had a creator. This is what they're concerned about. And this is what they're finding out. Because every time they look in there, it just gets more and more vast. وَإِنُّهُ لَقَسْمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. The places that we position the stars, now they know they're millions of light years away. They're millions of light years away. We see a constellation that looks like it's all in the same place. It's millions of light years away. This is what they're concerned about. Now, how does this translate to the earth? In the Oracle of Delphi, which was the Greek source of wisdom, there was written over that oracle, as above, so below. In other words, the order of the heaven must be brought down to earth. How is that done? If you look in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ar-Rahman that He raised up the heavens. And then, wada' al-mizan. He placed this balance. And then He placed the earth for all living creatures. So between the heavens and the earth is the mizan. What is the mizan other than justice? And where does justice emanate other than the marketplace? Because it is the marketplace that gave us justice. We live in a world immersed in usury, a world immersed in economic injustice, and everywhere you look and see economic suffering, the root cause is usury. And Allah has prohibited from people. He's given us a mizan, and He gave us iron to establish the mizan. He gave us hadid. He gave us iron and told us, فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ, that in it is much fierceness and great benefit for humanity. وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدِ. Look up in the Encyclopedia Britannica. They say that iron came from meteorites from the heavens. The source of iron is the heavens itself. The source of justice is heavens. The source of the sword of justice is the heaven. The source of the mizan is from heaven. Everything comes from heaven. Order is from heaven. Go out tonight, look up into that sky, and the few stars that they can't put out are still up there. Look up and know that those stars have a Lord, and that Lord has a divine order, and He has commanded His creation to look to the heavens for guidance, materially and physically, spiritually, just as we look to the heavens to guide our paths on this earth. Like the pilot who said, we always have the stars, only they've forgotten because they're depending on their machinery to guide them, and yet their global positioning system is still dependent on satellites that they put into the heavens, because there is no guidance, neither material nor spiritual, except that it comes from the heavens. And this is what humanity has forgotten, and this is why you're here, to remind people of where guidance comes from. This is why we're here, lest we forget, lest we forget, lest we forget. This is why we're here.